Hi there and welcome to our latest Cheshire property market update. I'm here with my lovely colleague Phil Jackson, and today we are filming on location. So this property that we're at is Millbank in Rushden, which is a really sought after area just outside of Tarpley. We are sat overlooking Ulton Mill Pond, which is absolutely delightful, Phil.
It's a gorgeous setting in the morning where we are right now, isn't it? We've got the water just there. It's all very nice and calm and still. I can see herons wading out into the water and things in the distance here. It is a gorgeous setting to sit here and talk to you all.
It is, yeah. We've got the weather. It's is it 1st of August today?
It is, you know, I'd forgotten about that.
1st of August. It's not raining, so we're doing pretty well in the UK. So we've got some stats and some sort of real-time market info to share with you to give you an update on what the housing market is doing on the ground in Cheshire. So Phil, we've been looking at the latest Rightmove house price index and we've got some interesting information to share, haven't we?
We have indeed. This is mostly sort of looking at how the housing market's been doing across July now that we're starting August. And one of the sort of the main headline figures that we've noticed across July is that nationally, across the UK, average UK asking prices are down 1.2% in the last month, which is the biggest dip in sort of July house prices that we've had in 20 years.
Yeah.
Which may seem like a shock. It may seem like a bad thing that house prices are tipping that way, but there's sort of a bit behind that as to why that's happening, isn't there?
Yeah, I think there's certainly a lot of properties that have been overpriced. So I think that's probably partly the reason. And we'll come on to talk about mortgage costs and all that sort of thing, and oversupply and how buyers have much more choice. We'll discuss those sort of things in much more detail. But yeah, Phil's right that nationally there's that 1.2% drop. I think it's a little bit different in Cheshire. We're feeling that there is definitely pressure on price amongst buyers, but that things are holding a bit stronger than they are nationally.
Yes, yeah, we can see. So if you look into some of the other areas, so for instance in London, I know their drop-off is 1.5%. So in some of these other areas, you're seeing even bigger drop-offs. Cheshire has been holding stronger as a market compared to other places, particularly so across the northwest and other areas as well, such as the northeast as well. So being further up here in the north, we've got a stronger market going on compared to those UK figures that we're talking about. Some of the main reasons behind that, like we've said, there's some overpricing in the market, but also one of the big things is the amount of stock available on the market. Yeah,
it is. Yeah, there's an oversupply. So there's more homes on the market for sale now than any point in the last decade. So when we report these things to clients, to people who are looking to sell, it's quite a surprising statistic, really. You know, more houses for sale than at any point in the last decade. So it's a market, it's supply and demand. Buyers have got more choice across the board, really. Even the properties we sell, so sort of 400-500 grand up to sort of 2.5 million. There's a lot of choice.
There really is. And because there's so much choice, the actual numbers in terms of the amount of sales being agreed are actually higher. So at the moment, we're 5% higher than this time last year in terms of the amount of sales being agreed across the country. And also buyer inquiries, according to Rightmove, are up 6% as well. So there's more people looking, there's more people agreeing on sales, and that's because there's so many houses available to them. But because there is that oversupply, like you said, not just a strong supply, but an oversupply, that's why we're seeing that slight drop-off in terms of national house prices.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're finding that increasingly buyers are more savvy than they've ever been. Everyone's got a lot of information at their fingertips these days, and we're definitely, aren't we, Phil, seeing buyers viewing a lot more properties before they make a decision to offer.
We are indeed. It's been very busy in the office at the moment, arranging lots of different viewings. We're seeing the same people viewing lots of different houses with ourselves. A few people sort of hedging their bets as to exactly which house they might go for. And I think some of that comes down to perhaps things like the negotiation stance as well.
Yeah.
With there being this oversupply in the market, I think there's a great opportunity for buyers to try and secure the house that they really want and get that at the best possible price too, because there's a lot of overpriced stock out there.
Yeah, that does depend which agent's selling the house, Phil.
Of course. With ourselves, we're strong negotiators, aren't we, Ian?
We are, yeah. It's true though, you know, if you can find an agent that's maybe selling an awful lot of houses, they've got an awful lot on their books, then there's potentially opportunities there to try and secure a lower a lower price. So while we're talking about price, Phil, I suppose it's important to mention to people how important it is, how crucial it is to set a realistic and maybe even slightly competitive price in order to achieve a sale.
And that's it. It's not just a valuation price. It's not just a marketing price. It's all about the strategy to make sure you're going to get the result at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. It's a pricing strategy. Getting that right from day one so that you're not one of these houses that just sits on the market for a long time and becomes sort of easier pickings for all these buyers that are out there.
Yeah.
You need to make sure you're working with your agent to come up with the most attractive strategy for pricing your home to get the best result.
Yeah, you really do. Yeah, and we're having lots of frank conversations with sellers, either sellers who are on the market that haven't sold, or in particular people who are coming to market. And we're saying to people, look, we're not in a market where you can test a price, a higher price. We're in a market where if you really want to sell and need to move, you need to set a competitive, realistic price. In some of the areas that we cover, there is a decline. Even though properties are selling, there is a bit of a decline in some areas. Nothing too drastic, but it's noticeable. So if you get the price wrong and the market's doing this and you continue to be too high, then the gap is going to be even wider and the chance of selling is even slimmer.
That's it. I heard a good phrase about that recently, about sitting on top of the market rather than being in the market.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be on the market, in the market where people are looking, rather than sat on top of it, because the national prices are sort of dipping away and you're still sat too bloated in terms of the price that you're asking for on top of that.
Yeah.
So people will ignore it because
Yeah,
they've got too many other options right now.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, I heard another good saying this week as well, Phil, which was that your agent, your prospective agent, if they tell you what you want to hear, it's good for them. And what that means is because we would get the listing. But if they tell you what you need to hear, then it's good for you because it means your house will sell.
That's right.
I thought that was good.
That's it. You need somebody who's going to be honest with you about what's actually going on, as opposed to just telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, all right, well, let's move on to mortgages then. So at the sort of really higher end, so a property like this, there's less lending involved, but certainly in the sort of mid markets that we cover, 400 to 1.5, that kind of range, obviously there's a lot of mortgages involved, so it's important to look at those numbers. And mortgage rates are improving. So the average 2-year fix is now 4.53%, which compared to 5.34% last year. So not far off, a percent lower than it was this time last year. So on a typical Cheshire property, that's a saving of £150 a month. So not small, insignificant numbers, certainly in the mid markets. And mortgage approvals are also up, Phil.
They are. So it's really great to see, though. It's really encouraging that the market is still moving whilst we're talking about sort of prices and things. If you're talking about actually houses still selling and still moving on, they are doing, and that's because the mortgage rates have become more affordable for buyers year on year at the moment. And then also, the amount of mortgage approvals going up is a great sign that lenders are confident in the market, that everything is stable, secure, and people should feel stable and secure when they're making their choice about moving to their next home. Yeah,
they should. And we always discuss a long-term view with buyers. So if you're buying a family home, which most of our homes are lovely family homes, 15, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases, then you should always look at the long-term view. And the long-term view is that property prices always grow. So don't miss out on the home you really, really want for the sake of a few £1,000s on a negotiation, because long-term you won't regret buying that house. So we've got a bit of a prediction for what we think will happen to rates next week, Phil. The Bank of England meet next week, don't they?
That's right. So we're predicting a cut, aren't we? We've seen a few cuts and we've seen some holding over the last few years. We've not sort of seen it going up recently. It's been generally sort of on the way down step by step.
Yeah.
And we're predicting a cut for next week, aren't we?
Yeah, we're predicting a cut to 4% for next week. There's been a lot of talk about that. If that does happen, then that could potentially be 2 cuts in the second half of this year, because it's likely there'll be another cut later in the year as well. Of course, that's good news if you're getting a mortgage. However, what's very important to remember is that it's now 60% more expensive to service a mortgage than it was 3 years ago. So I was speaking to a client yesterday who bought their house in 2022. They're now reselling it. The market's generally the same, but it's 60% more expensive to service a mortgage.
That's it. So it's for the buyers. So we were just talking about how obviously things are heading in the right direction for buyers in terms of security, and rates are coming down compared to last year. But if you're thinking of people who are perhaps coming towards the end of, say, a 5-year fix and things, if they're still on their rates from a few years ago, so in the last 3 years, it's now 60% more expensive for your lending. So you've got to factor that in if you're looking at buyers who are sort of buyers and sellers. If you're changing your rate from 3 years ago plus, it is still a lot more expensive, even if we are heading in the right direction.
Yeah, it's a lot more expensive on your mortgage. Utility bills are higher. Shopping is more expensive. Everything is more expensive than it was. There is now stamp duty to pay, which there wasn't for a long period, sort of 3 to 5 years ago. So all those things factor into someone's affordability and what they're going to pay for your house. So that all comes back to pricing realistically to achieve a sale.
It does. That is the key message that I think we would want people to take away from today. The market here in Cheshire is definitely still moving. We're agreeing sales on properties all the time. There's a few, I think, got agreed with ourselves yesterday. We're here bringing other properties to the market because everybody's still sort of secure and moving in the market. It's just making sure that you have the best marketing, but also the best pricing strategy to make sure yours is one of the ones that people go for.
Yep, that's true. We in the last fortnight, we've sold 8 properties ranging from 450 to 2.2 million. So that is a great range across the area, but it's showing that there are properties selling. You know, it's also the middle of the summer holidays, a quiet time in the market. Well, it definitely isn't that quiet at the moment, is it?
It really isn't. I've been in the office a lot more in the last couple of weeks, and it's been so busy there at the moment with people arranging viewings and offering on properties. It's not what we typically expect at this time of year. So it's interesting to sort of see how busy it is in terms of things still moving along. It's not just sort of sitting still and waiting for the summer holidays to end.
No, definitely not. So what does it mean, Phil? Well, I mean, if you're selling or buying, don't let any of this put you off. You know, it's just about making the right decision for you, and the market is definitely still moving. However, if you are selling, pricing strategy is absolutely key for all those reasons that we've just discussed. Any other thoughts, Phil? I suppose maybe the right move.
Well, yes, looking at their forecast for the year, at the start of the year, Rightmove were predicting nationally for house prices to increase around 4%. They've actually revised that now based on the fact that we've seen this sort of slight dip nationally in terms of house prices. They've changed it to they think there's only going to be 2% growth across 2025 in house prices. It's still growth. It's still heading in the right direction. Yeah. It is a positive, but it's now that we've sort of had more of the year and seen how it's actually playing out, I think that prediction can be a bit more accurate. And I think I'd agree with that forecast. That seems to be in line with what we're seeing too.
It does, yeah. The one thing I just want to mention before we finish is it's all very well talking about price, but the quality of your marketing is also vital. So make sure that you're working with an agent who is fastidious about the quality of the marketing of your home, because it's not just about attracting the initial inquiries when you hope it will sell. It's also about continuing to attract people if it doesn't sell straight away, or if the sale falls through, which sadly does sometimes happen. So we hope you have enjoyed our update and you have got some value from it. If you're watching it on YouTube, then please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell notification. If you're watching it on social media, please share it so that your friends will get some value from it as well. And I suppose we'll see people for our next update, Phil.
We will indeed, probably next month, just as the school holidays are ending, everybody's going back to school, and sort of see how the market's progressing then.
Yep, indeed. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye.